Hello, ladies and gentlemen, once again to the Top 10 Movie Podcast. I am your co-host, Mulley, and as with me always is Mike. And today's topic of discussion is top 10 movies that made me a fan of the actor. Now, Mike, the description for, or kind of the guidelines that we have for making this list were kind of vague, kind of left open to interpretation, which usually they are. But I just wanted to really, before we get into the list, talk about kind of what were your parameters for this list for yourself.
Yeah, for me, to come up with my list, what I did was, this doesn't mean that it has to be the first performance in this actor's career.
Right.
It could just mean, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be this actor's first performance in a movie ever in their career, because I've got some on my list where they've been acting for a while, and maybe I didn't like them in this movie because of the type of movie or the genre it was.
Yeah.
But I saw a performance of them in another movie, and I was like, okay, now I like them because of the performance they gave. Right. So it doesn't have to be the first time they were ever acting. It could be something in the future that you saw after they had been acting for a while.
So yeah, and it's kind of, I fell in that same hole. As far as like, well, every actor's debut that I really liked, that could qualify for this list because it's a movie that really made me a fan of a certain actor or their performance. And initially, what I had as my mental guideline for this were great performances from an established name or a relative unknown that took their status up a couple notches for me. And that definition is really too vague because if you've never seen the actor before and they have a great performance, obviously they're going to go up a couple notches for you.
Right.
And so, there were some performances, I had a lot of people on the list and we've cut them down now. We're going to do 5 apiece. 5 and 5 together we'll make our top 10 list.
We call this the one for them. We do the one for us, one for them.
Well, this is the one for them.
Yep.
Trying to cut it down. Our last podcast that we just got finished recording was an hour and a half, and we're trying to really scale that down to be a little bit more edible or digestible for people. So we're hoping by cutting this list down, but we cut a lot of names. I know I did, and Mike has. We cut a lot of names off of our list, and to get down to the 5. And man, this is such a subjective list, Mike. I don't know if a lot of people are going to connect with these because I think everyone listening could do their own and come up with all entirely new lists with no repeats.
Oh yeah, if you have 100 people listening, do their own list, it's going to be 100 different lists.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So this might be one of the most subjective lists we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go ahead and dive in on this one. So my first person on my list of the top 10 movies that made me a fan of the actor needs to be prefaced a bit. So I knew this actor primarily for comedy. And I think a lot of us remember or know names in our mind, the Jim Carreys, the Robin Williams, who first initially came in to acting as comedians, or just came into the public eye, maybe is a better way to say, is comedians. Even in Adam Sandler. Came in comedic movies, silly movies, known primarily as a comedian, as a funny person. And they, somewhere in the turn of their career, they have this dramatic spark, and they really impress you. So a lot of those guys could have made this list based off that alone. All the names that I mentioned, they could have all been on this list because something about their acting performance just made them appreciate them more beyond their comedic abilities. So it took them up a couple notches for me. But the one name that I came back to is simply for a couple of reasons. One, I knew him as more of a comedian and a funny guy, multi-talented guy. I knew that already. But mainly when she started his career, he was a funny guy. And he had a role in Ali, and it was kind of a subdued role in the movie Ali.
I know who this is. Yeah.
I know you know. And then he took it, to me, an entire new level when he played Ray Charles in the movie Ray, and that's Jamie Foxx.
Yep.
Jamie Foxx makes my list because in the movie Ray, I don't see Jamie Foxx. I see Ray Charles.
I see what you did there. I don't see.
I didn't even mean to.
Oh, okay.
That is because his performance was so good, Oscar-winning performance. It was so good that I forgot that was Jamie Foxx. And no other of the other actors that I mentioned. Although I think Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman and Man on the Moon is very close. Might be right there neck and neck. Argument could be made for either one. But to me, the Jamie Foxx, Ray Charles, the fact that Jamie Foxx is a musician in his own right, but mainly known for, I knew him as the silly Wanda character from In Living Color,
Yep.
or just his stand-ups, which are great. Fox in the Hole.
Did you ever watch
Kinda
the
thing.
Jamie Foxx show?
I did.
sitcom?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that show. And you can still go back and watch them. And very much like Martin or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, they have that sense to them. It's that kind of sitcom, funny, hilarious, and he's great. But he just took it to an entirely different level in my mind, and it really made me a much, much, much bigger fan of him in more dramatic roles. And now, so it's and it's in the case for a lot of these actors on my list, is that I just knew them for one thing, and they became something else
Right.
to me. But Jamie Foxx, I don't think anyone in my mind transformed more than him into a role that I didn't even see him anymore. It was ridiculously good.
Shout out to that. That's a great way to start off the list, man.
Thanks.
That was as soon as you said you were describing like his lead up to his saying his name, I'm thinking to myself, he's about to say Jamie Foxx, and I was like, I hope you do.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you were right. When you said Ali, Subdued and Ali, I was like, yep.
Yeah, because there was a lot of hype about him playing a dramatic role and playing a real person in Ollie. And I just found him to be almost invisible in it. I just didn't notice him. And I don't think it's because of him. I think that they didn't give him much. It wasn't a very big role.
Right.
And Will Smith's performance was so overshadowing of everybody else in that movie that and he certainly could probably maybe be on the list. But I really liked Will Smith a lot prior to that movie with Independence Day and Fresh Prince. I was a huge fan of him as a musician when back in the late 80s. As a rapper, I was a fan of his. So to me, it wasn't as big a jump as Jamie Foxx was in my mind. The levels that he had to overcome, the obstacles in my mind to become a comedic actor that I just kind of thought was just he was funny, but he wasn't one of the top comedians to me. He was good. His shows were funny, but they weren't one of the best shows.
Right.
To just becoming totally engulfed in this character, becoming that character for me, more Ray Charles than maybe Ray Charles was to me.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It might be one of the greatest
performances,
career pivots we've ever seen, ever. Yeah.
And I don't know if he hasn't been able to overshadow that yet. He hasn't been able to overshadow that, and maybe he never will. And it's okay because it's one of the greatest performances.
Yeah, it's a stamp on his career that you can never take away from him. At that point, he, it's funny because everybody's heard the Kanye West song "Gold Digger."
Yeah,
and that's Jamie Foxx as Ray Charles singing the hook, which is crazy.
It is.
Yeah, I remember when I saw Ray, like absolutely blown away. And you're right. After a point, you realize, or you feel like you're watching Ray Charles in almost like a documentary.
It's
like it's footage of the actual man, not someone trying to portray or pretend. Whereas, like, you mentioned Will Smith and Ali.
Yeah.
A great performance. But then Will Smith has also played other real life characters, like he did the one about CTE, where I think he was the African doctor, and that just felt more like a caricature of a real person, like Will Smith trying to pretend to be this person, where it wasn't an immersive experience like it was with Ray or like it was for Ali.
And what I think separates what Jamie Foxx did from what Will Smith did with Ali is Will Smith as a person shares characteristics, I think, of Ali. Like, so part of him just being him, the funny, the charming part. Charismatic. That's Will Smith normally.
Right.
Where his transformation really took place is his body.
Yes.
His body and his performance in the boxing end of it, I think transcended more over his personality transformation. And literally, Jamie Foxx was playing someone who was blind.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, if I remember correctly, glued his eyes shut during the performance.
I had heard that before.
To give it more real. And it's believable. And it's again, when I see Ali as portrayed by Will Smith, I see Will Smith. When I see Jamie Foxx portraying Ray Charles, I see Ray
You said
Charles.
Ray Charles, yep.
And that's the difference.
Agreed. Man, we're done. Thanks for tuning in.
That's the list.
Man, how do you even follow that up? Man, that was insane. Shout out to you.
Well, that's why we split it up into 5s, right? So we can spend a little bit more time
Yeah.
on. And that one, man, we really dug deep on that.
And then, yeah, that was. I don't even know who directed that movie.
Oh my gosh, Taylor Hackfield.
Okay, see, I've never even heard of that person.
I think so.
You know what made me mad about the turn in his career after that? I'm always curious to see what Oscar-winning actors do next, and if there's going to be a huge decline or a fall off. And for me, what Jamie Foxx there was because he does Collateral and Ali really in the same time frame. I think within 8 months apart.
Okay.
But then after that, he does Stealth.
Oh gosh.
With Josh Lucas and
Yes.
Jessica Biel, which was a horrible movie. Jamie Foxx gets killed about halfway into the movie. And
it was riding his Oscar wave too at that point. So people were going to go see it because of the Oscar, but it just wasn't.
Right.
But he didn't know he was going to win the Oscar when he made that movie.
He didn't know, and I also think the productions were probably really close together.
And I think the advertising was pushing his involvement more than they should have. Of course. To take advantage of his Oscar.
Yeah. It's the same thing that Disney did with Carrie Ann Moss and The Acolyte. But we're not going to talk about that.
Boom, boom.
But yeah, no, excellent choice. I love that.
What else did he do after Stealth? I remember the military one where they go into
The Kingdom.
I thought that was a really good movie.
So that was after Stealth, and I'm glad he bounced back.
Yeah.
Because that kind of put him back into leading man status, can carry a film.
But never as high as that Ray again.
Yeah.
Yet. Still young.
But I feel like that was the pinnacle of his acting career. The guy's so multifaceted. He can do comedy as a radio show. He's a musician, you know.
Yeah.
He can do a number of different things, which is funny because I always look at somebody who is gifted in a lot of areas as can never really master one.
Right.
Because you got your head in too many.
Trades,
a jack of all trades. Yeah. So for him to be in the middle of all that and conquer that and get an Oscar, it's like, hey, okay.
But I think his talents, especially musically, combined with what he was becoming as an actor, really helped to make him the perfect. Put him in the perfect role.
I agree.
Perfect actor, perfect role. Very rare.
Sometimes the stars just align. No pun intended.
And who knows if they'll do it again. I mean, for some actors, they never do.
Right. For me, first one on my list, I guess the second one overall, is it's a cult classic. Well, I remember when I first saw this movie, it's a VHS rental. And
we're going back.
Yeah, I don't even remember why I chose this. It might have just been
cover art.
Maybe
people chose movies back then just because of cover art.
Yeah, because I didn't even know who the actor was. The lead actor was. I think I might have thought it was something that it turned out not to be.
That happened.
Based on the title.
The title misled you.
Yeah.
Something else.
And it was a bizarre movie the first time I saw it. We talked about this off mic, how you can watch some content, movie, TV show, whatever, at a younger age where maybe you don't have a full understanding or grasp, or you don't have the life experience to really connect with what's happening. Mm-hmm. And then later on you come back to it and you have a deeper appreciation for it and understanding. This kind of falls into that because when I first saw it, I think the movie came out in 2000, so I was 20. So I was an idiot when I was 20. I remember when I was like 21 to 25, I was an idiot.
Person. He was a very different person.
1,000%. Anybody who was rocking with me those 5 years, I apologize. But yeah, I was kind of wild. But yeah, I've since matured, you know, and somewhat older, wiser. And I watched this movie again, and after this actor had done other things, right? Okay. So going back and like revisionist history of this actor, and I had a deeper appreciation for the performance. The movie is still like bonkers, out of this world, off the rails, crazy, but I can see it and appreciate it for what it is now. This movie is American Psycho, and the actor's Christian Bale.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
Have you seen this movie?
No.
You have? Okay.
I mean, but it's iconic enough where I've seen scenes of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of memes about it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Huey Lewis in the news.
Yup.
And
gotta return some tapes, and it's So the movie takes place like in what's supposed to be like the big corporate business boom of the '80s. So he's like a corporate executive. 1980s New York, which I love that era of New York.
We should see more movies made in that era.
I do too, because
I want to see more.
LA something about LA in the 70s, movies made in that time period. I love the aesthetic of LA.
Yeah.
And that happened, they do movies like those a lot. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was shot in the 70s in LA. And I've seen other movies like that. There's a TV show out now on Apple Plus, Apple TV.
Apple Plus.
Yeah, Colin Farrell stars in it. It's called Sugar. And it's supposed to take place in 1970s LA. My cousin was just telling me I need to check it out because he thinks I would like the aesthetic of the show.
Nice.
And I'm a big Colin Farrell fan.
Well, the '80s excited me because Wonder Woman '84 was supposed to be that, and it just wasn't to me. But it's the idea of taking place in the '80s and all the things that the look, the consumerism,
Yeah.
products,
Yep.
mainly is what it was back then. That really it would be a great setting for some films, but
For sure.
continue.
But yeah, so obviously Christian Bale is most known for Bruce Wayne.
Let me get into that too. What did you know Christian Bale from before? Because I think I knew him as a child actor in that Spielberg movie, 1941.
So I never even saw that.
Like that.
It wasn't even like this guy wasn't on my radar
It was a
at
complete
all.
unknown to you when
Yeah.
you watched this movie.
So this is the rare occasion I think with this list and just in general of seeing a movie and seeing this actor for the first time and thinking I want to see everything else they do moving forward. Because his performance, he showed me, like I could see the dedication in the role, even back then when I didn't fully understand what was happening, and to see it a second time after seeing, The Dark Knight or The Prestige, or American Hustle, like all the other movies he's done where he's knocked out brilliant performances, The Fighter even, and The Machinist. You realize, this guy, he commits to a role. What's the phrase? He goes method.
Oh, he's
When he played the Dick Cheney movie, he picked up the weight and he shaved his hair and The Machinist, he lost all that weight to where he just looked super unhealthy. He was unhealthy.
But you saw the pangs of this, the beginnings of this in American Psycho when you first saw this.
Oh yeah,
This is where you.
It was so unhinged, and I'm thinking to myself, even at 20, it's like people can't really be like this in real life. So he showed me something I hadn't really seen in movies, and this was kind of the start of my cinematic education. Like this is like I'm 20 years old, so I didn't really get into movies until 19, 20, 21. So this is kind of right at the beginning, the genesis of that for me. And so that's when I really started to kind of pay attention to the performances and the nuances that you're not going to see in the script, but more so in the characters and the actors' choices in the performance. So I saw a little bit of that in this performance. And I was like, this guy is amazing. He's off the rails. There's a star-studded cast in this. Means Willem Dafoe's in this. Jared Leto's in this. Chloe Savini, I believe, is in this.
And it wasn't, if I remember right, it wasn't a big film when it came out, but
No.
it got a huge cult following. So much so, I saw earlier this year somebody dressed up as him at one of the
Patrick
Comic
Bateman?
Cons and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got the plastic white see-through, and he's carrying Huey Lewis CD in his back pocket, and the axe, of course, that people know from the Jared Leto scene. And
So you know that scene then?
of course.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
I know that scene, yes. I misspoke. I want to make a correction because I know people at home might have made this correction, but it was actually Empire of the Sun that I think he was the lead actor in as the child by Spielberg in the 80s. It was.
Oh, you're right.
It was him. And I said 1941, but Empire of the Sun is what.
That's what it is. You're right. I remember the
And I
title
think
now.
he was the lead in that.
Okay.
If I remember right, as a child. So yeah.
I've seen interviews with him as a kid, I guess, promoting that movie. He looked like the kid that you wanted to just slap and punch. Just
You think he
had
had like a cocky,
he had a very
silver spoons type face?
yes, punchable face. He had like the little buzz cut with the British accent. Like it just annoyed me. But I mean, I came to appreciate him.
Yeah.
Became a fan of him really after this, and then of course after this, it's Machinist, it's Batman.
The Machinist is what really took it to another level for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he lost all that weight, oh my gosh, he looked so rail thin. And to think that he did Batman off the back of that movie is insane.
Yeah, and because on top of that, he actually put on too much weight at first for
Yeah,
Batman.
he was too big.
He showed up on set and they called him Fat Man because he put on so much weight. And
Called
then
him Fat Man.
yeah, you can tell the difference in that and then The Dark Knight where he looks a little more slim, a little more lean. But yeah, no, Christian Bale's a serial killer in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a lot of psychological elements to this movie.
He's unhinged.
He's very
We talked
unhinged.
about being unhinged
Yeah, and
before.
those are the characters that I know you're not really drawn to, but for whatever reason, there's a part of my psyche that I just like. I connect with unhinged characters
I do too. I think so.
because
too.
it's like you're seeing it's almost like wish fulfillment. You're seeing somebody do things you would be afraid to do because of the repercussions, and this character on screen is doing those things.
Yeah.
And you're disgusted, but you also can't look away.
It's like driving by a car wreck. You just can't.
You can't help.
Not look.
You gotta look. Yeah. Speaking of that, why is it when people drive by accidents they gotta slow down? Because it holds up traffic. You can go by at 70 miles an hour just fine on the freeway and see an
You
accident.
can't take it in as much.
That's true. That's true.
And I don't know what people want to see, but I think it's just the unknown part of it. Plus, everybody in front of me has been taking their time. I deserve my time, don't I? I've been waiting in line
You're right.
like a
You're
good
right.
little boy.
You're
I
right.
get my chance to look.
You're entitled to that. You're right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but no,
it is ridiculous.
Some of the kills in this movie are what I'm speaking directly to about. It's horrible acts of violence, but you can't look away.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how much more depraved can this guy go? I mean, the guy is flat out sick. And then in the end, the movie, he gets away with all of this somehow, some way. He has a mental breakdown after his last kill, and he goes on this. He starts running in the streets and inside buildings, and he's killing this person randomly. It's just random chaos, and you feel like you're starting to have this mental breakdown. Like maybe he's starting to realize what he's done, and it's almost like a bipolar thing, and maybe two separate personalities are split in a way. And then the movie ends with him getting away. And again, the '80s aesthetic, the headphones. I have to return tapes is a phrase used often. You talk about VHS tapes. Getting into the exclusive restaurants that most people can't get in, and things of that nature. The whole thing is crazy.
Yourself. We mean us. All right. I will say this. I think the same fascination that people have with watching those investigative shows like 48 Hours or Dateline is the same reason why a film whose antagonist, whatever the mix is, or whoever you are on which side of the fence whatever side of the fence you are that, it's that morbid curiosity about them that makes them, so many people are a fan of it.
Yeah.
I think it's that same thing. Okay, let me go into my next choice here. And speaking in a very similar vein to you, this is a crazy film, and it would make you really mistrust people. But
I already do. It's okay.
You already know what I'm talking about?
No, I already mistrust people. So.
Yeah, I know. It's just, oh goodness. Okay, so this is this is an actress that from here on out, for the rest of my life, when I see her, there's inside of me, I'm going to jump a little bit. That's what this film did to me. And every time I see her, she's an extremely beautiful actress. So that's part of it. I'm just a little dazed by her beauty, but
so not Kathy Bates in Misery. Got it?
Maybe I'm a Kathy. Who knows? You're right. But maybe no. It's just how she portrayed this person. It scared me a bit, and I think it scared a lot of people. And her performance was so scarily good.
I think I might know who this is.
I don't even know. I mean, she is insane, but like I don't know. It's so hard to. You can maybe help. I'll tell you who it is, and maybe you can help me describe this. The name of the character she plays is Amy Doon.
Okay, it's not who I thought it was.
And it's from the movie Gone Girl. And this is Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
Anytime I see Rosamund Pike in anything else, I can't. It's I go right back.
That's a testament to her performance then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, she was a virtual unknown when I saw the film.
Same.
I'm sure she had been in other things. I just never noticed her. I dang sure noticed her in this film. Mm-hmm. And as the estranged wife to Ben Affleck in this movie, fakes her own death. Mm-hmm. And then to get out of what she deems as an abusive relationship, fakes her death and goes with another man, but he's just a tool to her to achieve what she needs. She just needs someone to take care of her.
That's it.
But she still loves Ben Affleck, and but he's just not treating her right. Mm-hmm. And so she's gonna do some crazy, insane things. The biggest of which is faking her own death, but to get him back to where he needs to be.
Yeah.
and it's I guess maybe as a single man, it's a bit more scarier than
For sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The idea that of the level of manipulation that's taking place there, and the fact that Ben Affleck is handcuffed to an insane person, and can't seemingly get out of it, and is just stuck.
That's the thing, is the feeling of being stuck. Yeah,
It's
it is.
horrifying.
I agree, no doubt.
But there's also, I'm sorry, there's an attraction thing that there is still to her. She's still, something about her is alluring, and it might just be because she's a beautiful Hollywood actress. But there's also, she's super loyal. I will give her that in a way that maybe people would think is absolutely psychotic.
She definitely went above and
She-
beyond to prove her loyalty.
That's right. Anyway, this movie messes with your mind, and it's meant to do so. And
Well, I mean, look at who the director is. He's known for that.
and she who was it?
David Fincher.
Oh yeah, the number 7, man, number 7. And I know Fincher more for, I feel like, his aesthetic as a director. I
True.
feel like that's how I know David Fincher more. But you're right that he does. Yeah, this film was pitch perfect for him, and man, it's just her. It's her. Everyone around her and during her performance fades away from me. Even Ben Affleck. No, I've always been kind of on the fence about anyway.
With Ben Affleck, you mean?
Yeah,
Me too.
I'm off and on some of the things that he does. But Rosamund Pike in this movie established herself as one of the greatest actresses that we have now. I mean, and I know that and it was just based on that one performance, and everything that I see her do from now on, I always connect her back with that. That's
that.
how strong
Yeah.
that performance were. And man, they really found a gem when they found her to play this part, because it was like finding again, we talked about Jamie Foxx, the perfect person for that part.
Yep.
Man, she just I have so many mixed emotions about her when I watch that film.
So, do you think your perspective on it would be slightly different if you were a woman?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it'd be absolutely different.
Yeah.
But I think it still would be similarly eerie.
The level of
and
fear wouldn't be
attractive,
there if you were a woman and you were asking your perspective, but because you're a man and you see what she's doing to prove her loyalty to her husband, it puts add an element of fear in a man, because whether you're married or not, I think if you're married, you think, well, what if my wife is capable of this? If ... And if you're single, like you said, because when I was single, what if I may think, well, the next person I date, like, how can I ever really fully trust her?
I know, as a whole, that would be the interesting discussion to have, and I hope there's some female listeners that'll write into us and let us know how they felt about watching this movie from their perspective, because I think part of the horrific element for me and the appreciation of the actress's performance is the fact that I am seeing this as a man.
Right.
And if you're a man who's either married or single, you see it differently. If you were married, you see it one way, or have been married. If you've always been single, I think you see it in a whole different way. And if you're a woman, I think it's probably a very similar thing, that you're seeing it from a whole different angle. But the performance is so good and so horrific, and so there's an attractiveness to it, that there's so many mixed things that are happening there, that it is going to all affect everybody in different but similar ways.
Right. I agree. And it's funny when you think about the depths that she went to prove her loyalty to her husband, because it's gonna sound crazy, but to some degree, a lot of guys want women that loyal.
Yeah, you want a ride or die girl.
I want to know
Yes.
that that's how loyal you are, but I don't want you to actually act on
I
those.
don't want you to do all those things.
Yeah, I want to know that. I want to know that you're. I don't want you to prove it to me.
Yeah, but man, I just felt by the end of that movie, I think we all can connect with Ben Affleck and think that for the rest of his life, he's going to have to be on pins and needles as long as this woman's alive.
The ending
he
of that
can't make a
movie
mistake, dude. It just feel like he could.
has to be one of the most sour endings
Sad.
I've
It is
ever
sad.
witnessed. Yeah.
For him, it's a triumph for her.
Yeah.
She got everything she wanted. She got out scot-free, and she murdered, and she did all these bad things, terrible, psychotic things. And she's going to get away with it. Although I have a sense, I want to have a sense that in the back of Ben Affleck's mind, he is formulating a plan to eventually get out of this.
I would hope so.
But at the time, it feels hopeless.
You have to, at that point, you have to kind of come to the realization with yourself as the man in that situation. She's smarter than me. She's smarter than I
That's
am.
true.
I'm
She's
not
more
cunning.
cunning.
Yes.
Is the word.
I'm not going to be able to, no matter what I do, I'm probably not going to get out of this alive or unscathed because she's going to figure it out. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know how I even start to get your head around how to get out of that. I don't know where to start.
I'd be afraid to even think it, honestly.
You'd have to try to sour her on you without her getting sadistic.
Yes.
And taking revenge. Oh, well, that's a tough. I mean, you think just breaking up with a regular person is tough. Breaking up with a psychopath is going to be
That's a different level.
hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that being said, we're having such a passionate discussion about this because of no one other than Rosamund Pike.
It's true.
Her performance has sparked all this discussion and all the feelings that we have. It's because of her, and that's why I'm a huge fan of her. Right after that movie,
She was also she did really well in Jack Reacher. She was really good in that because I think Gone Girl was first, and then Jack Reacher.
I get the feeling though that even in all the performances she's had since, they've never used her to her full power.
And that's what I hate.
And that's probably not their fault. It's just probably, man, just finding a role like that is once in a lifetime.
It's tough, yeah. I mean, you're talking about
She don't want to retread those. She don't want to retread that.
Also that because
she's going to be the psychopathic.
That has to take a toll on you mentally as a person.
Oh my gosh, I bet it.
Become that person over and over again.
Sheesh.
But yeah, you talked about she has a natural beauty to her, almost like she's very elegant, almost like a throwback to like the old Hollywood, yeah. Like the Doris days.
So she's super attractive, but the things that she's doing is so horrible. It's
if she
walked, weird dichotomy.
If she walked
and
in
she's
right
loyal, and I'm like,
if she walked in right now, I was like, Steven, I pledge my loyalty to you.
Yeah. We both would. I think we would say whatever you need.
I mean, at this point, I accept my fate. She's probably gonna kill me one day, but she loves me, so hey.
That's true. I'll die happy.
That's a great choice, man. That was good. Next one for me, it's how can I say it? This is the kind of guy, this performance by this actor, when I saw this movie probably 20-something years after it was released. But I had always heard about it, just like in movies you gotta watch, or movies that, retain a high watch.
See, the good thing about that is that whoever we're talking about has had 20 years of other performances for you to judge them by.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've never seen this from this person before. This is insane.
No, you're right, because the movie I have this character from, I almost picked another movie from this actor. But this one, the character is like that. Everyone and growing up had that one guy in the squad that was like always gonna hype you up and say, "Yeah, man, go ahead and talk to her. You got this." Always building your confidence up when you had no confidence. Your confidence
your
was
own
down.
personal Flavor Flav.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
For sure.
Bringing back the old school.
He's like, this is the kind of guy that's like, he's super confident. He walks in, he commands attention, very confident. He's the alpha male in the group, but also he's got your back, and he's gonna push you to try to be like him. Instead of being the leader of the wolf pack, he wants you to co-lead with him. So he's gonna.
All right, I got a name in my mind.
Okay, and he's always gonna.
Do you have a name in mind at home? Keep it in there.
Yeah, if you guys can figure this out based off what I said, because your descriptions are amazing. Because whenever you're describing it, I'm in my head, the gears are trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like mine are just like, well,
no, you give
words,
me a maze.
words,
no,
and this.
This is a good maze. Come on, keep going.
And so this is a Vince Vaughn character.
Oh.
I mean, we're talking early, maybe his first role. Also stars Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
And this movie is Swingers.
Swingers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I saw this movie, came out '96, I think. So this is before Vince Vaughn. Before Jon
I saw this
Favreau.
movie late too.
Oh yeah.
I saw this movie late too.
Good. But I still enjoyed it. Like it was like a guy's movie. Not like in that it was raunchy or misogynistic, but it was just like a group of guys hanging out. They're all like unemployed working actors in Hollywood, just trying to live life, trying to hit up the hot spots.
Kind of an Entourage feel.
Yes, Entourage before Entourage.
There you go.
The real Entourage. And Jon Favreau's character has just recently broken up with his girlfriend, or been broken up with, but he's pining over her. And it's the one aspect of the film I hated, because he was just getting on my last nerves. And Vince Vaughn was just like, oh, come on. He's like that smooth, quick talk. He's like, come on, baby. Your money, you're good. We got this.
Yeah.
Let's go hang out. And he was just trying to be a really good friend to his friend, who he obviously was in pain and hurting. And they go to Vegas. They meet a couple of girls, and they go back to the girls' trailer, and it's all kind of hanging out. I mean, Vince Vaughn is like the ultimate wingman in this movie.
And cool. And a cool guy.
And he's cool. He just seems like the guy, no matter what happens, like, he's going to be okay.
Right.
And
he's smooth. He's never out of control.
Good-looking guy.
He has the gift of gab.
Yep.
He knows what to say, yeah.
Like, that's the kind of guy you want to be connected to.
Oh, that's the kind of guy you want to go to Vegas with. I think, that's what I feel like. His mouth's going to open a lot of doors.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And so, like I said, I almost picked his character from Wedding Crashers.
I did, yes. Now, what I would say is, when I knew Vince Vaughn from before Swingers was, he was in Rudy. And that was a serious role for him. And
the Corey Haim movie?
No.
Rudy?
No, Rudy with the guy from Lord of the Rings, Sean Astin. Rudy, the football film. Rudy.
I thought Corey Haim was in that too.
All right, maybe Corey Haim is in it, but he's not
Okay.
the main actor. It's Sean Astin.
Okay. Is that Charlie Sheen?
No. I don't. No. This was with Rockman Leach. Is that the guy's name? I believe it was.
Okay, this is a different movie, similar storyline.
This is a classic sports movie that I know. Notre Dame, Vince Vaughn. I think he played the quarterback in the
I'm
movie.
thinking of Lucas.
Oh, good.
Which is Corey Haim and Charlie Sheen. It's a football movie.
It is.
And it's around the same time as Rudy.
But where Rudy is based on a true story.
It's a serious movie.
It's a serious
drama.
movie.
Yeah.
Yours is a 80s like Breakfast Club.
Yes,
type.
John Hughes-esque for sure. You're right.
So just the stark difference between the two.
Oh, very different for sure.
Because even the cover of the movie you're talking about is Corey Haim with like the helmet off to the side.
You're right.
And it looks like an 80s.
It does. It's
comedy.
No, Rudy's is a classic.
Rudy is a classic. And so that's what kind of knew him from. But yeah, I think Swingers was his big break. That's where everybody kind of knew Vince Vaughn from, and then that sparked all these other movies from him. But I don't think anything better than Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers was. I don't know. Did we see him as a comedic though?
Yeah, he's the comedic, but he's the rare break the mold where he's the comedian, but he's also the leading man.
Yeah.
He's a lead. I mean, he was that in Wedding Crashers.
But it was cool. I think maybe that's more.
And he's cool. Yeah, he's a lot of times the comedic character is like the butt of the joke, and that's why he's funny. But this guy's always
it's a Van Wilder type situation where it's like, oh, it's funny, but he's also cool.
Yeah,
it's rare. It's a rare thing.
Even when he's in Old School, he's the father, but he's also the cool.
Yeah, it's certainly the cool. Although I think it's more like the Luke.
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson's more like the straight guy.
Yeah.
But he plays the friend who's always trying to push him into doing it. Like, we got to take advantage of this. We got to take advantage. We got to take advantage of July. I'm gonna have Snoop Dogg come out and sell Radio City stuff or whatever his store was named. Yeah.
I like when he starts to
dodgeball.
When he goes on his fast-paced verbal tirades in movies. I love those moments when he does those. He's so good at it. And in Old School, when he's talking to the two other guys, Luke Wilson and Will Ferrell, he's got his baby with him, or his son, and he'll always say earmuffs before he says something crazy. So I do that with my niece, not when I say something outlandish, but if something I don't want her to hear, if we're talking, I'll say earmuffs. Yeah. And then she'll look right at me. It's like, well, you can read my lips, so look the other way.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. So Rudy was a more serious film, a real serious role for him. And then I felt like it wasn't really even a comedic role in the movie that you're talking about with Jon Favreau. I just felt like it was just who he was. Like it was just the quick talking, certainly funny guy. And what's the name of the movie? I can't remember. It's
Swingers.
Swingers, that's right. Sorry, I lost it. But then in all these afterwards, he was in Jurassic Park 2, but there's a little bit of comedy. But then he kind of switched to all these comedies: the Dodgeball, the Wedding Crashers.
Well, somewhere before Jurassic Park 2 was what, late 90s?
The Cell era.
That was 2000 with Jennifer Lopez, and then he also did the Norman Bates movie, where he was Norman Bates.
Oh yeah, Psycho.
Yeah, and Annette
but then there was a transition, right? There was a transition where he became this more comedic. Mm-hmm. Right? Was he in the breakup with Jennifer Aniston?
Yep.
So he just became this kind of more comedic figure.
It started, I think, really it started for him with Old School in '03, and it takes off from like Wedding Crashers in '05, and then the rest
They're
is
like,
kind
this
of
guy's funny. Let's put him in funny stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
But you see how long it took him to get there. Wedding Crashers is '96, and then Old School's '03, so we're talking 7 years after.
Wedding Crashers is 96?
No.
Swingers
is 96.
Okay, 96.
And then I would say peak Vince Vaughn is '05 with Wedding Crashers. So it takes him 9 years to be the Vince Vaughn that we know.
And then he had another turn recently where he played like a lot more like it was, I didn't watch it, but I saw and do some press for it, but it was like a more serious role, like an ex-con or a con.
He's in jail.
Yeah.
I heard it's actually pretty decent.
And it seemed like it's pretty good, but it seemed like he's turning back now, like, against the type that he's kind of created for himself.
Well, I think, those types of comedies, we've talked about this before, there's not really a place in Hollywood for them, mainly because of just the era we're in, like the woke and the Me Too and misogyny and all that. We don't make those types of movies anymore. And so a lot of those characters.
We as the people.
Yeah, there you go. Those types of comedies just don't get made anymore. So
Gotcha.
I had to pivot, but that was a great choice. So that was my choice.
That was a good choice.
I'll pat myself on the back.
There you go. Okay, so this is going to shock some people, and I contemplated, whether I should put it on the list or not. But it really put her on the map for me more. And I know that she's primarily known as, or at least back when I was young, she was a rapper. Like, that was what she was known for. And she did a sitcom on television, Living Single.
Classic.
And
iconic.
She showed her comedic chops and some acting ability. But I never thought of her as someone who was going to be an actress in a leading role in a movie. Much less one that I would watch, much less one that I would want to watch, and much less one that I revere as a really good movie now.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't guessed it already, her name is Queen Latifah. And the movie for me is, and I'm not alone because my brother feels the same way, Last Holiday. And I don't know if a lot of people have seen this. It stars herself and LL Cool J is in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a flash in the pan, but certainly I think one worth watching. Gerard Depardieu is in that movie as well. I think the French actor, I think he's French.
Okay.
Anyway, I just say that because he has a really memorable part. But there's some recognizable faces you'll see in there. But those are the mains. So all that being said, Queen Latifah is not somebody I thought, all right, if she's in a leading role, I gotta see it. That's not somebody I would ever do that with. I think the only reason that I watched the movie was because it was interesting. The premise was interesting.
Which was?
The premise is that she is a normal woman working at a mall, in love with the guy that works above her. She's in a department store. I think it's in a mall, but she's in a department store, and she's in love with the guy that works a level above her, and that's LL Cool J. She lives in love with him.
Okay.
She can't approach him
Because she's poor.
No, she's just shy. She's super shy, and she's like a lot of us. Is that she just won't act, and she's got a lot of regrets. But she's thinking
She has Tourette's?
No, regrets. She has a lot of regrets.
Okay,
Sorry.
whoa.
Sorry, a lot of regrets in life, but she, and so she keeps to herself. She lives on her own. She's very, humble means, but is dreaming about this guy and what her life could be, but just it's not. The reality isn't. Anyway, the movie really kicks off with her finding out that she's going to die, that she's got cancer, and that she's going to be
okay.
Like
bucket list type stuff. Right?
Yes, it's very much so. And so she said, she's always been planning to go on this trip, and has never just ever done it. And she gets this diagnosis from the doctor, and she goes, you know what? I'm going to cash in everything, and I'm going to go on this trip, and I'm going to live the week of my life in the Swiss Alps. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's Swiss Alps. We'll give you the region of it is because there's skiing and there's mountains in the background. I'm sure it's like Monte Carlo or something, that I don't remember, but it's definitely high out of a lot of our prices range, as you mentioned before. We can't get into that club.
Nope.
She stays at this swanky hotel, and she's like, the chef there is that Gerard Depardieu guy, and he's a well-renowned chef. And then she says, I want to go to his restaurant, like the Gordon Ramsay. He's basically Gordon Ramsay. I want to go to his restaurant, and I want to eat the best food, and I want to just enjoy myself my last week of my life. Which intrigues me, and I think intrigues a lot of people. Well, what do you do if you have a short amount of time? And she's just trying to live. So she starts doing things, shopping, and spending all this money that her basically her retirement money and all that. She's going to blow it all, and people think that she's this new. She shows up as like this new ingenue, this new millionaire that's come in, and everybody and she's a spark of life wherever she goes, and everybody wants to like be with her and like hang out with her and go skiing with her, and she gets into all these little situations where she ends up on the front of a magazine, and everybody at this place adores her, and I almost don't want to give it away, but it's been out so long.
Yeah.
So I just want to give the full performance of what she's able to pull off. But anyway, she's gets to where she's the most beloved person here. She goes to the restaurant. She orders everything on the menu. She wants to taste everything this guy does with no changes. That really impresses the chef. He comes out. He can't wait to speak with her. They become good, fast friends. They cook together. This is a great week. And by the end of it, she knows, okay, it's just the end. And I've had a great time. I wish it could continue. Well, the twists and turns of it is that they find out that it was a misdiagnosis.
Oh my gosh! What?
And that when the people in the hotel find out the reason why she's there, that she's a normal person, she treats everybody with respect. All the maids and the butlers and everything, they love her because she treats everybody with respect. And they find out the truth that she's there because she thinks she's going to die. The film turns, and she kind of like doesn't want sympathy. She's not looking for it. She wants to maintain what she has now for as long as she can, and she's on this high. And anyway, the one regret that she does have is not confronting LL Cool J's character.
Well, not confronting, but
telling him how. Yeah. Revealing to him. That's the one she didn't do. And he find out why she did what she did, where she went, and the fact that it's a bad diagnosis. So he goes to try to save her, go tell her. So he travels all the way there to go and tell her that she's going to live. She's okay.
Okay.
And at this point, it's kind of been revealed to him that she really likes him, and he feels the same. So there's a great connection, with that. So anyway, that's how kind of the movie. You can kind of see where the conclusion is going to come, but there's some twists and turns in there. But that's I hopefully gave you enough to want to see it.
But what about the performance?
The performance is. Sorry, I talked a lot about the movie and not talked about her performance. She takes you along for that ride. You feel her regret when she finds out that her life is ending. You feel it, and I never thought I'd have a rapper like Queen Latifah making me feel that way. She is a tremendous actress. She proved that in other things. I know.
Yeah.
But for me, the turn took place in this I never felt more connected to her and appreciative of her acting ability and for her to take me along with that ride until this movie. I was able to take her history out of it.
Yeah. And
just see her as the person she was playing. And then when she goes on this terrific ride, you go with her. It's fun. You're happy that you finally see a good person having these good things happen to her after all this life of kind of downs.
Yeah.
And she's finally getting her up. And it's sad what has made her do this. But man, that week is just a tremendous week. And all these fortunate things happened to her. And the best thing about the whole thing is, oh man, she spent all this money, all her life savings is gone. Well, she's so free. That last week, she gambles and wins multiplied more than she can handle in the movie script.
I was with you until you said that. It seems almost like a bailout.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think they wanted to end the film with her to be penniless.
Right.
So that I could see why they wanted to, to. But the point of it is that if she had lived a freer, more open life prior to the diagnosis, this could have been more of her life when she had it.
Yeah.
But the misdiagnosis gave her a window to realize that, and not only learn to be more open and more active about the things that she wants, but by the end, she's got the love that she the love of her life
yeah.
that she wanted. So
Okay.
it ends in a beautiful story for them. She's not gonna die, but it's a beautiful tale, and her acting, I didn't think she was capable of it, and she blew me away.
It's a movie that
I talk too much.
no, you're good. You're good. It's a movie that I wish I didn't know the twist.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew beforehand. You said it. I've known for years now, but
it's
because
been out
I would have
20 years.
I would have gone back and watched it if I didn't know about the twist diagnosis thing. But
Yeah.
now because I know it, it's like, okay, it doesn't add as much weight if I see it already knowing, well, the first half of the movie doesn't really matter for me because I know what's going to happen after.
Yeah.
It's a cool premise, though.
It is.
And it makes me wonder, because, as great as science is in real life, it's not perfect.
Well, in this particular case,
It's not perfect because I think there are people who really get diagnosed in real life,
yeah,
and then they find out a week or two later, oh, by the way, this was a clerical error. Actually, you're good.
yeah.
And it makes you wonder, well, how are people living life until they get the good news after they've gotten the bad news?
Well, I think typically people that are going in for those kind of things are feeling bad.
That's also, you're right. Yeah.
So there's symptoms that are making them think that maybe I need to get checked out for this.
True.
So it's not a total
Surprise or...
in this particular case, it was a brand new CAT scanning machine.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
showing black spots on every scan.
Oh, really?
And she was just the first one to use it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So she was the first one, and they noticed all of these black spots
Yeah,
and thought it was her.
that's scary.
But then those black spots kept showing up on other people's after her.
Yeah.
But she was gone
Yeah.
in another, without any, like, where did she go type situation.
Right. Man.
And so he had to track her down and find her.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So that was mine, Queen Latifah. Never thought that she would be on the list like this, but that's a movie and a performance that made me a fan of her.
Okay.
I gave her, after that, I was like, she can do anything.
No, I mean, based on how we defined it, that belongs on the list.
Anything she wants.
I wouldn't say anything because The Equalizer.
No, and I don't fail her for that. I just think that's the wrong casting in my mind.
Okay,
She's
same.
not the right person for that.
All right, great choice. Okay, so for me, I've got. I'll just go right into it. I've been a fan of this guy ever since this movie. I got a lot of firsts on here. Actually, it's kind of crazy. I didn't think I was gonna have a bunch of firsts. And this is actually, to my knowledge, their first role and their breakout role. Actually, it's not the first role. It's their breakout role. And this is Dea Kaluuya and Get Out, which is what we talked about in our last episode.
Yeah.
We referenced the movie in top 10 most iconic antagonists.
Yeah.
So we talked about Rose on that episode, on that list. Now we're talking about Chris and his performance by Dea Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen this guy in, I've loved him in.
Yes.
Judas and the Black Messiah,
Black Panther.
Widows, Black Panther, into the Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel as
Cartoon.
yeah, I know you're not a fan. I love that movie, love that franchise. Waiting on part 3.
A lot of people do.
He killed it as Spider-Punk. If you watched it, you would love it.
I know. I love Spider.
Oh, okay.
I watched it, and Spider-Punk was probably the best character.
The best character. I
The
agree.
new one, anyway.
Yeah.
The best new character. I like it.
But I like the guy in real life. Just seems like a cool guy. Like you watch him in interviews, he seems down to earth. He seems comfortable being him, and it doesn't seem like it's a facade. Like he's not like he's not putting on for the cameras because the cameras are on. He seems like a very down to earth show guy.
Self-assured.
Yes, and then of course the fact that he's got this British accent just makes people sound cool.
It
for
does.
whatever
Yeah,
reason.
it does.
Because nothing I've seen him in, has he played a British character except for Spider-Punk, which is animated. Nothing live action. And before Get Out, he had a small role in Sicario with Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro and Emily Blunt, which is a great movie. And he plays Emily Blunt's partner in the movie, but he's a big part in it.
No, I don't even remember.
And then he was also great in Nope, if you saw Nope.
Oh, yeah.
The Jordan Peele movie. But this was his breakout role, and
Another Jordan Peele movie.
yes, yeah. So again, it's like the DiCaprio and Scorsese
I
connection.
hope so.
Yeah, but the guy's talented, so he should definitely continue to do more with him. But what drew me to his performance that was just made it a standout was he seemed like the everyday man, even though the role is, the movie is not a cautionary tale, but it's about racism and race. I mean, it's interracial couple, black guy, white woman, and then the twist with the family, which is crazy. But throughout the whole thing, there's like a certain level of a subdued performance. It's like he's restraining himself on purpose. Like it seems significant and on purpose. Because this performance could have been done a million different ways that would have ruined the movie. Performance would have been terrible because it could have been over the top. It could have been really like, hood or ghetto, the way his
comedic.
Yeah, his reaction to everything. He could have played this 50 different ways, and it would have been 50 different ways wrong. The acting choices he made for this role were perfect, and he was a black man in the movie, but it wasn't about a black man being like hood or hip hop street. He's just a guy in this scenario, and that's what I liked about it. He wasn't playing it to be about race, even that's what the story's about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would see it more like you think for the more obvious reason of why things are happening.
Yes.
And then there's a secret reason why everything's happening.
That's it right there.
And his performance is on pitch with what your performance would be in that situation. The tear coming out of the eye was
man.
That's the iconic part that I see.
Mm-hmm.
But how he reacts to what's happening. Again, he's the audience's entry into this story.
Yes.
He represents us, and I would think that he's stronger than maybe a lot of people would be in that situation. He portrays a certain strength about him in that, and it's not overstated. It's really good. And again, I talked about Jamie Foxx dissolving into a role as Ray. I think he dissolves into allowing us to become him. I think that's the thing. There's nothing about him that's so overt that we can't connect with him.
Exactly.
It's a complete connection.
That's what I mean.
When he's drowning in that ocean, and then we're drowning with him. Like, I couldn't catch my breath in that scene.
I think that's the thing I was trying to get at. You worded it better than I did. Anybody, any male of any race can see his performance and think that's how I would react.
Yeah.
Not because of a black or whatever, white. That's how a man would react in a situation where things are awry and things are off. And again, talking about his subdued performance, I think it's, like you said, he didn't overreact in any moment because it was almost like if he did, that would escalate everything else.
Yeah.
So he tried to play a little cool. He knew something was off, but he didn't really quite know how to react. So let's not go over the top and overreact because that makes everything else worse. Let me just see what's going on.
Avatar for us.
Agreed.
Let us just slip right in.
Agreed.
Yeah, great. That's a great choice. Let's see. All right, a number 4 for me. This is I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna do number 5 over 4.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about this person. So previously, this is one where I knew the actor was one thing, didn't care for him much, and mainly not because of his acting acclimate. It was because of the character that he played. It's like, this guy, and he even forgot that he had played this guy after a while. Saw him in a movie that not a lot of people have seen, and kind of a religious movie at that, with a lot of religious undertones. Gained a whole new appreciation for his acting. But I first saw this actor, in Ghost, and he played the antagonist of the movie that you didn't know he was the antagonist to the end of the movie. But this is Tony Goldwyn. Goldwyn, excuse me.
That's a deep cut.
Tony Goldwyn.
Wow.
Right, in Ghost, played the best friend who actually killed the protagonist in the movie, and is trying to get with his girl.
The ultimate snake.
The
ultimate
super snake.
Yeah.
And gets the deserved ending with the really horrific black hands coming out of shadows to pull him down to hell, basically.
My sister and I were literally just talking about this ending the other day, about even today how creepy that was.
So creepy.
Yeah.
And deserved, but also made you almost feel bad for him a little bit, because it's like, Like he deserved it,
Right.
but also this is horrific.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So afterwards, I mean, like again, I mispronounced his name.
Can you name anything else he's been in?
Since Scandal, that was the biggest role that I've seen him in.
Right.
But he'll pop up. I think he was in Moonfall as the president or something like that. And he'll pop up, and you'll be surprised. You go back and look, and he'll be in a lot of things that you just didn't see him.
I got one for you.
Please.
Old school Christian Slater movie, Cuffs.
I like that movie.
I do too.
I don't remember him in it.
Harold Faltermeyer's score. Yeah, that's classic.
Anyway, the movie that I saw him in that really turned me around about him is the movie Joshua, and we've talked about Joshua on this podcast.
Oh, so it wasn't Ghost. that was the preface. Okay.
Ghost was the movie. Sorry, Ghost was the movie that I didn't like. I didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a good actor. I guess I didn't like him because he was the bad guy.
Well, how does you compare that against Rosamund Pike though from Gone Girl?
Right. Well, because of these are two different. Because Rosamund Pike was a wonderful debut in my opinion. She made that film, and every time I see her afterwards, I can't get away from that character.
Yeah.
And Tony Goldwyn, I didn't like this actor.
Okay. Okay.
And for him to be playing a protagonist in a movie, essentially playing Jesus, it was such a turn for me that I had to put him on my list because I'm a fan of his now. I'm a big fan of his. Anytime that I see him, I was like, "That's the guy from Joshua."
Okay.
Not the guy who went to hell in the guy that played Jesus. Like it's a way dramatic difference, right?
For sure.
Anyway, in Joshua, he does play. He plays Jesus, but nobody knows that he's Jesus. But they start suspecting it when he starts to perform miracle things that are happening around the town. So he comes in as a stranger from out of town, and good things start happening around him. The church that's burnt down, starting to get, he starts to rebuild it. And people that are broken and in broken relationships, broken people around him are starting to, like the relationships starting to get healed. It's healing the town, basically. And then it has a dramatic ending that you got to see with the Pope at the end of it.
So this is like a modern day.
So it takes place in a small town.
But modern day?
And by the time, yeah, but made like 20 years ago.
So it wasn't like.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not like in Zero.
Right.
Or 33 after Christ AC. Right?
It's Zero. That's crazy.
Right. But no, like, yeah. So this is modern times, I guess you could say. I have a hard time saying modern times because it looks like a city that's like Mayberry from the Andy Griffith Show. It feels like that kind of a town.
Okay.
But it would take place like in the late 90s.
Got it.
Okay. So modern to me is in late 90s, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it has a great ending, and it just makes you feel, especially if you're a Christian person, I think more so, or religious at the very least. But the performance in itself is really good, and it's not over the top, and it's very subdued, and it would be like, I would really like this person if I met him. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
It's very he's everything that you kind of would want out of someone that's a friend, and the way that he helps everyone around him is inspiring.
Okay.
And this is the guy that freaking killed the dude in Ghost.
I mean, hey, that's a character,
So
man.
the transition was amazing, and that's because of his acting performance.
Yeah.
Maybe a big fan.
But
No bigger transition from a guy that I didn't like to a guy that I liked on this list.
let me ask
Not
you this:
one.
does he go from Ghost to this role next in his career?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he was in a lot of other things, but he never just crossed my radar again until this movie.
Right. Okay.
I'm not actively seeking out the guy from Ghost
I was gonna say
after what I saw from him. That's all I'm seeing him is getting dragged to hell every time I look at him. But this movie changed that for me.
Okay.
And now I see him in another movie, and he's this is a guy who's much more talented than he's ever been utilized.
Okay.
Really feel like.
All right. I'll look into that. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it, but never seen it.
We've talked about it before
Yeah.
on this list, so
Okay.
like, one of those. I think it's one of our like hidden gems lists.
Yeah.
It was on there.
Gotcha. All right. Next one for me is the first female. Actually, the last two I have are female. This is the first time I saw her again. So again, another first. And this is Nia Long from Friday. Yeah, she's she's the girl in the hood that and like on the block, the neighborhood. Like every guy growing up in a neighborhood somewhere in the world can relate to the guy in the neighborhood that they want to get with. That she's like she seems perfect in every way. But you hadn't quite approached her yet. But she kind of knows who you are. You kind of know who she is. And every time you see her running by, you kind of wave and say, "What's up?" That's about it.
She's forever that girl in your mind.
Forever, yeah. And I've been in a few neighborhoods growing up as a kid and young adolescence where I had that girl on the block. So like I always kind of looked at Nia Long that way, and it really wasn't about her. I guess her performance was that, even though it's about a day in the life in the hood, she didn't act like your typical person who lived in the hood. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, there are good people who live in those, lesser well-off neighborhoods.
No doubt.
Not everybody there is a drug dealer or a gangbanger, or a
No,
criminal.
bad rap for that. There's a lot of good people that are that are there that you just have to get past all that to get to.
Exactly. And to me, her performance, she's one of those in this movie. And even Ice Cube's character, Craig, he's not a criminal. He's just trying to get through life and survive one day at a time in this neighborhood as well. But she just reminds me of like the cool girl that you were always cool with as a young kid in high school. You wanted to get with her, but maybe you never did, or things almost worked out, but for whatever reason something happened.
Did it turn into a crush list? You're crushing on Nia Long hard.
I mean, listen. You ask any black man in my demographic, they're gonna say Nia Long is the one.
Well, look, she was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air first.
She was
Will Smith's girlfriend, and she was that back then.
And she had the same haircut in Fresh Prince as she does in Friday.
Okay.
That's what stood out to me and she just had different. She looked like she almost was mixed with maybe some Asian heritage in a way too, but. Like she was so cool. She seemed down to earth. Like I just had never seen anything like that before, and so it was just her performance. She was very chill, very cool.
All right, okay, all right. I think you're shaping your
Oh, bro.
you're telling us, you're showing us how my preferences got formed.
Yes. If you saw Nia Long today, I'm trying to marry her. Are you kidding me?
All right, and you know what? I didn't mean to end it this way. It's the last person on my list, but it's a very similar vibe.
Here we go.
I didn't notice her in Creed. I don't know why. I mean, she's the main love interest in Creed, but she was, I don't know, she was different, and I didn't connect with her. But then when she was in Thor Ragnarok,
That's what did it for you?
Tessa Thompson, to me, it's something just magnetic about her in that movie. And when I first heard that she was cast in it, I was like, no way. What is she gonna play, a warrior? That just makes no sense. And it's perfect. I mean, she's so good from the very beginning. She's nonchalant. She knows she's a badass, but she's also beautiful and stunning. And she every scene that she's in, and man, and how hard is this to do? Every scene that she's in, she's like. She's the jewel of that screen. Like she just captured the screen. And how do you do that with a guy like Chris Hemsworth there and an animated guy like the Hulk there, and she's the one you're looking at? That's crazy.
That is true. It is true.
And I don't know. She's cocky, but she's also, I don't know, stuff that I didn't see in Creed or Creed 2. I will say that.
Okay.
And then. Even though a lot of people don't like the Men in Black movie that she's in, I still think she's still good. Like, I think she's still
Wasn't that also Chris Hemsworth as well?
It is, okay. Yeah. She just can't get away from that guy. But no, she is good. And I appreciated her more and her performances in Creed 1 and 2 more. I haven't seen 3. I appreciated them more after seeing Thor Ragnarok. That's how I know that her performance in Ragnarok changed her in my mind.
Right.
Because I went back and watched other things she was in.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, she's so good.
Annihilation. She's in Annihilation.
Again, until you mentioned it to me, she was in it. I had forgotten.
You've forgotten, yeah.
That's how transformative her performance in one movie was for me. That then I realized that was her. Mm-hmm. That's not the same woman. And and so that's why she's on my list. She's she's at the bottom of the list at number 5. Okay, but. I know because I don't think it's a Jamie Foxx performance or a Rosamund Pike performance.
True.
But in my own personal mind, she was such a kind of just a background player to me, and then you're just shoving this person in the forefront of my mind in that Thor Ragnarok movie. That's how much she made an impression on me.
Well, because of that, I recommend you watch Creed 3 because she looks phenomenal in every scene she's in. Like,
I don't know if I can handle it.
I don't know.
My knee along.
I don't know who her
Knee along.
wardrobe specialist was for 3.
Yeah.
If it was the same person as 1 and 2, but like just her whole aesthetic, her vibe, her hair. She has like the Baltimore, East Coast accent and a little swag going on. She's the musician in Creed, the Bianca character. She's singer.
I know, and she's like independent.
Yes,
and
her energy.
her vibe.
I love her
energy's
energy.
totally different though. From Thor Ragnarok.
It is.
So I didn't connect with that.
Okay.
But the Ragnarok I did, and then now that made me connect with everything.
Okay.
She's done.
Yeah, no, I could definitely.
I'm with you. All right,
I could definitely
I'm with
have her and Nia Long battle it out.
There it is.
Whoever winner is, I'll take one.
No contest in my opinion, but that's just me. Sorry, I'm Team Tessa. I can't help
It's
it.
a great choice, but anytime I see her, it's like, there she is. True
And I'm
queen.
actually really happy. I had to have 3 actresses on my list. Typically I connect with actors, male actors.
Men, yeah.
Because I can fit into that role.
Right, that's true.
But listing this as really performances that made me fans of them made me realize just how many great female actresses we have.
Yeah, and to round out this list in this episode, I'm going to end with the female as well.
Great.
So, back to back, or to back, because I had Nia Long. Now we're going to another female. This is the second time I've seen her in a movie. The first time I saw her in a movie, or anybody that saw this other movie, she wasn't in it that much. She wasn't the focal point. She was referenced more than she was shown. But the movie wasn't really about her. This movie that I saw her, that I'm talking about on this list, she carries the film. This is Emma Stone in Easy A. Have you seen Easy A?
I have not.
I recommend it. As a however old we are, man, I know that she's playing a high school girl in this movie. It's not about some weird,
And I remember what has took me out of it because I knew it was a high school film.
Yeah.
I'm out of that. Like I'm
so
so out of that.
because
I'm really out of that.
I have an uncanny ability to watch a movie about high schoolers and go back to high school Mike. And I look back fondly on a lot of my high school years. And so it's easier for me to connect with high school characters in these movies because I could think back to how I was and I kind of remember somebody like this person on screen from when I was in high school. So it's just another layer for me to connect. I always try to find ways to connect with what I'm watching on screen. And if the performance is great, then it's just a bonus. And to me, Emma Stone is one of the greatest, like this era class of actors that we've ever had.
She might be the top right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. Florence Pugh's coming for her. Zendaya's coming for her.
I love it, but they're not all coming off back to back Oscar wins.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
La La Land, and then what? I forget the one that she was just recently won one for.
Yeah,
I didn't see.
She started to do a lot more indie abstract movies and getting more notoriety for it, which is great. Yeah, but no, Easy A is it's basically a modern take on the Scarlet Letter, if you're familiar with that story.
Sure.
And that's basically what she is in this movie. She first is appalled that she's being looked at as this person that I'm not the slut of the school or the town or whatever. But then she starts to kind of embrace it and she starts helping these other quote unquote losers in school out by boosting their ego and their popularity in the public eye by thinking that, okay, well, I'm not a virgin anymore because I slept with so and so. So they start to look at the guy as in high praise, but while she's still being degraded, she sees it as like a public service almost to these guys that otherwise would be overlooked or bullied because they're virgins or they're not as cool as everybody else. They're not jocks, so she sees it as a public service. But then she kind of realizes the power and what she's done has grown beyond her control, and there's things starting to happen, and she almost gets raped in one scene. Not graphic, it's PG-13, but it's highly alluded to. This is what's about to happen, and that's when she kind of realizes, okay, maybe what I'm doing isn't for the greater good. I need to look at my own image and start to protect me. It's a great coming of age tale. I love those movies, and again, her performance is very not relatable, but she seems like a lot of high school girls that I knew in high school, just in terms of the way she acted.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't act under her age. It just seemed like I'm watching Emma Stone in high school, trying to navigate this scenario.
You started to see the inklings of what she would become as a Oscar-winning actress,
Yes.
right? So she was so believable and
Even
lost in that character.
in this movie, I felt like she was almost too good to be in this movie in terms of her talent.
Oh, that is really high praise.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And it's really funny. She's very charismatic in real life, and I think a lot of that shines in this character. So, for anybody out there listening, even for you, I highly recommend the movie.
Okay, good. Well, I think that's it. That's our top 10 list. That was our top 5 and 5, but top 10 movies that made me a fan of the actor. Maybe a better way to say it, a bigger fan of the actor. In some cases, from a terrible unknown or somebody I hated.
Well, all of mine were actually, I was surprised they ended up being first for me.
Debuts.
Yeah.
Almost debuts for you.
Or the first time I had seen them.
Yeah. So again, as we like to ask at our end of our podcast, that's our list. What's on your list? We want to hear from you. Let us know what actors made a turn for you in your mind, took it up a couple notches in their acting acclimate because of a certain performance. Name that movie. Let us know what that movie is in the comments down below or through email. We want to hear from you, and we thank you for being fans of this podcast. You know, you guys are the fuel that fuels our engines, and so the more that you interact with us and let us know you like it, the more of these that we'll do, right, Mike?
That's right, and I always tip 18%. I always move over in the slow lane if you're going to be around me because I'll run you over. And don't take the aisle seat, take the middle seat. It's okay.
That's right. Save money. Save your money. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Top 10 Movie Podcast with Mike and Mulley, and we're out.
Later.